Jai Om Vishnupad Purnam Supariprajaka Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundigiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamana Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for coming and welcome to all. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tatati Shapadantikam. Bande Hang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Sahagana Raghunathan Namastam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Muripriye Vanchako Pitarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, thank you all. We're continuing our mini seminar are the 4 rules. This of course is that's all right. This of course was the question asked at initiation. What are the 4 rules and how many rounds do you agree to chant? So we're not talking about rounds here. We're talking about the 4 rules. The rounds and 4 rules, as Rabindra Swarup Prabhu points out, are meant to enable us to purify our consciousness so that we can understand Krishna consciousness. We can purify our hearts and eventually reach Krishna. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. These 4 unwanted activities are the pillars of sinful life. So we've covered the sort of overview. We've talked about meat eating, and now today we'll begin. Not begin. We can cover no intoxicants. The intoxicants. That's the word, by the way. Intoxication is the state of being affected by intoxicants. Intoxicants include, Prabhupada said, coffee, tea, cigarettes, pan. And we'll see that there are other things that are in the intoxicants category, including energy drinks. They're a sort of recent entry into the field. Let me share a screen with you. There it is. This is from the Center for Science in the Public Interest. And it's basically a chart of how much caffeine is in the various stuff that people consume. There's coffees, they sort of really, what would you say, turbocharged coffees. I think if you turn your volume down, Tulsi, or no, it's not coming from volume, is it? It's coming because you're already muted. All right, we'll just enjoy the little bells. So you have your sort of turbocharged premium coffees with nearly 400 milligrams, I guess that is, of caffeine. Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and so on. Your various cappuccinos and your iced, your cold brew stuff. Then moving down a little bit more, your various espressos and so on. Your regular ground coffee, 45 to 100 milligrams. Coffee, 25 to 50 in Maxwell House Light. Decaf, Maxwell House Decaf, 1 to 5, and so on. Then we come to, and Starbucks Decaf, 25 for 16 ounces. So decaf, but still calf. Then your teas, 95, 80, so on. Snapple lemon tea, 37. Arizona iced tea, decaffeinated tea, less than 5. And herbal tea, 0. Then soft drinks, Pepsi Zero Sugar, 115. Mountain Dew, 91. Diet Coke, 76. Pepsi, 63. Diet Coke, 46. Regular Coke, 45. So your cola drinks and various others are in the same level with tea and coffee as far as caffeine is concerned. Some kids orange soda with 31 milligrams of caffeine and so on. But your 7-Up and so on. 7-Up, Fanta Fresco, ginger ale or Sprite. If you're going to spring for sodas, they have no caffeine. Then there's your energy drinks, 300, 225, Monster Energy and so on. Basically, the kick is from the caffeine. Red Bull, I've seen that around a lot, 80. And I've seen Ocean Spray Cran Energy, 55. I've seen devotees, they have to drive, and so they've got an energy drink, and their energy drink is like heavier than coffee as far as caffeine goes. So these things all violate no intoxicants. Caffeinated shakes and waters. Protein shakes with 65 milligrams of caffeine. Food, snacks, ice cream and yogurt that are coffee, ice cream, and so on. Chocolate ice cream. Then there's your chocolate candy, chocolate drinks. Well, 600, 200 caffeinated chocolate bars, milk chocolate kisses at 10, chocolate bars at 9, and so on. And then over-the-counter pills, no-dose, Excedrin, migraine, Midol Complete, Anacin. They're also well laced with caffeine. So there's all sorts of, so it's not just coffee, tea, and cigarettes. These things are also in the realm of intoxicants. Prabhupada, okay, so that's fairly clear, I think. Are there any questions? Well, I'll get to the big one here, chocolate. Somehow more ink has been spilled over chocolate than murder and grand larceny. But Prabhupada says, cocoa and chocolate are not to be taken as they are intoxicants. Literature Sura Shrestha, 14 June 1972. Then Prabhupada says, in a letter from Paramahansa Swami, as Prabhupada's secretary to Malati Dasi, June 8, 1975, regarding your questions, if chocolate is not an intoxicant, it can be offered to the deities. But as we saw, chocolate is an intoxicant. I'll put two more things on here, and then that sort of wraps up my wrap. Their medicine may have intoxicating features, where it may be, a baka intoxicant. There are, if morphine may be taken if you're doing surgery and so on. There are proper applications for these things. There's a medicine called Calmeg. It's actually just a root, but Bengal Chemical makes a preparation of it that has alcohol in it. And in the early India days, Prabhupada said that devotees could take it. It helps digestion and so on. But then there was one well-known devotee who was knocking it back by the bottle full. So then, that's not for digestion anymore. There's also medical marijuana, which according to some claims is not intoxicating. I've seen, in the case of Gunagrahi Maharaj, who was taking medical marijuana for as cancer treatment in a manner that was supposedly just used the non-intoxicating part of the plant. I've seen no one quite as zonked as he was on medical marijuana. Total case of paranoia, absolute outer space, out of touch with reality case of marijuana. And as soon as of paranoia, and as soon as he stopped taking the medical marijuana, he became lucid, intelligent, totally aware of what situation he'd been in, and so on. So your medical marijuana, showing some promise in terms of possible treatment. It's not the cure-all that's claimed to be, but in any case, it can become highly intoxicating. All right, I'm done on intoxicants. Are there any questions? And let's see, let me stop sharing my screen. Yes, Kamalini, Hare Krishna.
Well, not in defense, but I think maybe Gunagrahi Swami was he also taking other medication that may have conflicted?
Nope, I was staying with him, and I was totally on top of the case. it was marijuana.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when
That sounds pretty, yeah, pretty intense. But um, my son sent me a cartoon, well, by a devotee. It shows, I think I said it before, showing supposedly Prabhupada's wife, and it said tea or me, and then the next caption was devotees. You want to take a japa walk to Starbucks? Because now it's so common and accepted, just by time, I guess, and by not hammering on it. And I guess most people that now I see quite a few devotees are habituated to drinking coffee at least every morning. And they're not really hearing that they heard it before. Many of them were brahmacharinis, and then later, and even young people like teenagers, that are still at home with their parents, devotees, they also are, I've seen, getting into the habit as well. And it does become a habit, huh? And one becomes dependent. We've heard people say, I can't wake up in the morning until I've had my coffee.
yeah,
So,
that's what the karmis say.
yeah.
And our rules are there. It's we can. There's so many ways to rationalize why we don't need to follow one rule or the other, or why bending it a little bit is favorable to Krishna consciousness. But these are 4 rules that we're supposed to agree to follow. And without following them, Prabhupada said, you're not my disciple. There's no Krishna conscious life. He didn't say that, but he said, you're not my disciple. If you're not a disciple of your spiritual master, where's your spiritual life? So, yeah, Athena says, I also know initiated devotees who drink coffee. So it's become quite common to break these 4 regulative principles and still somehow or other tell ourselves that we're not breaking them, or that it's okay to break them, or that whatever it is. But a vow means you don't break it. That's the meaning of a vow.
Mm. And also because usually coffee has milk and sugar in it, or creamer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as devotees, we really like milk and sugar. And, so the taste is attractive also to devotees, I think.
Well, you can get milk and sugar without coffee.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We generally prefer cardamom to coffee.
Huh. Like, in India, how the British introduced tea, and you see now it's become a big, big habit in India. And that's what I thought. I thought because they put so much milk and sugar in it, and that's what they've always been accustomed to drinking. And it was easy to get them hooked, because of that, I think.
In Britain also, Americans are sort of not real tea drinkers, but in Britain it's sort of the standard that you have your tea with milk and sugar. And it's very nice, but it's an intoxicant. And we, as Prabhupada says, not even coffee, tea, or cigarettes. So it's just against the regulative principles. I don't, we can find so many instances and we can find so many excuses, but it's a simple thing. These are intoxicants, and if you want to take them, that's your business, but then don't falsely promise. And if you've promised, follow. That's a simple thing. Thank you for contributing that, especially the cartoon, the japa walk to Starbucks. Any other comments or questions? Tulsi Priya has a question. There's a coffee substitute called Peru. It is barley and chicory root. It tastes just like coffee, but has no coffee. Oh, that's Devi Murti. Yeah, there are various, and they've been popular at one time or another in ISKCON, various chicory sort of based substitutes for coffee. Personally, before I came to Krishna consciousness, I'd never liked coffee at all. So the chicory substitutes are like, why do you want to drink that? It tastes like coffee. Um, but if you want to, you can. It doesn't break the four regulative principles. Chicory is not intoxicating, but I don't know that there's much of a benefit. And then you're always sort of, well, since I'm taking something that tastes like coffee, I might as well take the real thing. But you can. There's no harm. Let's see. Then Papero, Tulsi Priya says is the name of the stuff. All right, you had a question?
Yeah. Actually, as far as the coffee substitute, I was doing some research on herbs that are good for the liver. That's not my initial comment, but I just wanted to throw in. And one of them is dandelion root. So I did some research and I found an herbal beverage that I make myself from the roots that I buy at the health food store, and it has burdock, dandelion root, and chicory, roasted up, grind it up, and it tastes like coffee, and it's supposed to be good for the liver. My question though is about certain substances are used, like for instance, I don't go to doctors, and I've been practicing herbalism since I was in my early 20s. And so there are a lot of medicines that are made with alcohol. I myself make like my own elderberry extract. I have a bottle of vodka and a bottle of brandy, and I steep herbs and roots in them. And the quantity that you take in a dose is like maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of alcohol in the substance. So in the same way, I'm wondering, I don't consider that to be breaking the regs if you're actually taking it for medicinal purposes. In the same way, I have taken tea when I'm sick because it's what they call a bronchodilator, or the caffeine gets the blood circulating more. My mother had an old remedy that she used to give me when I was a kid. So I'm just wondering, how do we, tread the thin line where we're actually taking something medicinally and not using it as an excuse to indulge in an intoxicant, even if it's a very subtle effect. I had heard a story of a devotee who was taking some herbal medication that had a lot of alcohol, and he was downing ounces of it, which is the equivalent of drinking
Right.
an alcoholic beverage. So I'm just,
So medical uses of these things.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, Prabhupada did say that devotees could take this kalmeg, which is prepared with alcohol. There are Ayurvedic preparations that do involve alcohol. Some of them are basically just booze, and you really wouldn't want to take them as a devotee. But that becomes like a special case. Someone's taking medicine. I've taken morphine straight to the spine, for surgery, and the doctor came back after. He said, "You've been on absolute vacation." So there are, legitimate medical uses for these things, but one has to be, what's the word? Sober. There's a good word. Dhira, Prabhupada translates as sober. You have to be sober to know when to take these things, if at all. So yeah, under medical advice, and it's really required or helpful, then there's you can, with a small amount of alcohol that has no significantly intoxicating purpose, then you might take it or might not. But then we look at coffee, tea, cigarettes, and energy drinks, and so on. So really, then you're in an indisputable intoxicated territory. The other things are sort of details and discretionary cases. Prabeen says, is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Regarding bending of principles, what is the balance for gurus to accept disciples if the guru has not much supervision of the practices of his disciples versus accepting disciples to spread the movement? Well, of course, one of the things I'm going to try to avoid doing in this seminar is addressing how individual gurus manage or what they instruct their disciples, because that's their, what can I say? That's their business in one sense, or they're initiating lots of disciples. I'm not. So just for me to sort of sit here and say, oh, why are Maharajas doing this? Why are Maharajas doing that? So my main purpose is going to be to lay out what Prabhupada said the rules are. And there you can use that as in your calculations to consider what should be done and what should not be done. As Prabhupada also couldn't supervise all of his disciples. Basically, what he expected is, if you promise, you'll follow your promise. And he emphasized that you're promising before the Vaishnavas, before the fire, before the spiritual master. So now you have to follow. So the spiritual master may not be in a position to supervise or, really dig into people's lives and see what they're doing, but we want to see that people are following. So we ask, are you prepared to follow? And if it was in a temple situation, we certainly ask the temple president to recommend, is this person following? Is he chanting? Is he following the 4 rules? And so on. And Prabhupada wasn't keen on accepting disciples who weren't following. I hope that answers the question. Atina says, can you address this above about temples giving prasadam that contains chocolate, desserts, and knowing a Maharaj was taking kombucha? We follow examples, and given this, seems like chocolate is okay and kombucha is okay. Well, again, I'm going by what Prabhupada said. He said that chocolate is an intoxicant. It contains caffeine, and therefore it's not offerable to the deities. And he said, yes, you can offer it to the deities if it doesn't contain caffeine. But as we've seen, it does. Now, I've even been in situations, you're at some program and they're offering you, the host is offering you something with chocolate, and it's like a tiny little bit, and it's like not the end of the world, and you'd rather make the host happy than be a stickler about half a milligram of chocolate. And again, so much ink has been spread over this, and their devotees, they choose their spiritual master on the basis of whether or not he takes chocolate. If you can offer him chocolate, or they'll have a picture of some guru who does offer chocolate. We've heard that. But anyway, chocolate is, as far as I've seen, an intoxicant, and therefore to be avoided.
Maharaj?
I wanted to come to kombucha because she asked about that too. That's sort of a recent entry on the scene. And I had some sort of medical condition, I forget what it was, for which the devotees that I was staying with bought, several bottles of kombucha and recommended, no, you have to take this. What does it do? It gives something, sauerkraut and kombucha and various things. They provide something that I needed at the time. And so I had like a couple glasses, a glass or so of this kombucha, and I was out for the morning. So I can, and it was like, I haven't done the science, I haven't reviewed the papers, but I could tell you that I was basically drunk. So, and then I hear there's different grades of kombucha. There's like superpower kombucha and there's milder kombucha. From my experience, it's an intoxicant. And yes, you wanted to ask something, Tulsi Priya.
Yeah. As far as the chocolate goes, it has a couple of other substances in it that are considered intoxicants, even by people who, wouldn't necessarily consider chocolate intoxicant. One is called anandamide, of all things, and it's a substance that's related to the same intoxicating ingredient in
Okay,
marijuana.
I'm basically going to cut this. Basically, we know that these things are
Okay.
intoxicants and we should avoid them. We can get into the details, and if you get on the internet and want to
Okay.
research, you can. But thank you, but let's move on.
Yeah.
Rooibos tea, as far as I know, is an herbal tea and not intoxicating. It's, yeah, it does come from South Africa. And I personally don't like the taste of it, but as far as I know, it's just herbs and there's no caffeine. Many ingredients include alcohol, but I'm told that when you cook it, the alcoholic content is burned off or evaporated. Is that okay? Like white wine vinegar, alcohol in miso paste, etc. Well, I'm not expert on all of these things, and vanilla extract, David Murty also says. So, you know, some things like vanilla extract, I don't think anybody's going to get intoxicated on the tiny amount of alcohol in a vanilla extract, especially if it's cooked and then knocked off. So if things are available without, therefore, why vanilla extract? Why not vanilla bean? These are all conveniences that instead of a nice sattvic vanilla bean, we go to the store and we buy vanilla extract with alcohol in it. So if you think about it, you can live a more sattvic life and have better ingredients and not have these, well, is it or isn't it sort of thing, by going to the the original rather than the store-bought product. Okay, some more comments here. Miso, 2% alcohol by weight. Yeah, there's various things. Probiotics, yeah, that's why they gave me the kombucha. They said it really needed it. It was like bad. Tina says, gosh, the thing keeps moving. Tina says, Prabhupada said, you are not my disciple if you don't follow the 4 regs, but Hayagriva Prabhu deviated and Prabhupada always saw him as a devotee and his disciple. Well, I don't want to comment on individual devotees, but Prabhupada, when he knew that someone was breaking these 4 regulative principles, he was unhappy and was not satisfied. Disciple means discipline, Prabhupada said. Discipline means you follow. I'd just rather not comment about a particular person, especially Hayagriva Prabhu, but you're supposed to follow. I hope that's all right. What is carob? Exactly, it's a bean, and yes, it is okay. Vanilla flavoring is available in health food stores without alcohol, right? So, and there are plenty of probiotics that are not, that don't involve alcohol, kombucha, and all of this kind of stuff. Okay, and again, we can really dig into the details of, is this one an intoxicant? Is that one an intoxicant? I'd rather not, do your homework on the internet and use your best judgment. But I think we certainly know with coffee, tea, cigarettes, energy drinks, and so on. Anything, that list is there. Go to the Science in the Public Interest site and you can see how much is there. And we're just supposed to avoid it. No intoxicants. What's the problem? That's, some borderline medical, but, the basic principle is as Kamalini pointed out, people are going on japa walks to the Starbucks so that they can have energy to worship the deity. This is just wrong. Okay. Are there any other sort of core questions about this, not details about a particular product? Okay. Good. Shall we move on to gambling? We have time. Let us then. The no gambling, of course, includes casinos and card games and all sorts of games of chance. Dutam means gaming, actually. So gaming, gambling, and generally where there's gambling, there will also be intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating. These are things that are known to thrive in places where there are casinos and betting and so on. Your lotteries, just see Parikshit Maharaj is driving out Kali, no intoxicants, no gambling. And the modern governments are sponsoring gambling, your lotteries and so on. According to the professional literature, mobile devices are a real trend in gambling. You don't have to go to the casinos anymore. You can gamble on your iPhone. Virtual reality casinos are another trend, a more immersive experience for your customers. Cryptocurrencies are a trend. You can gamble with cryptocurrencies, and even if your state outlaws gambling, you can gamble anyway because it's anonymous and untraceable. So these are, gambling is, Kali's become digitized. Then, so we generally know what these things are: games of chance, high risk, gambling, gambling on sports, gambling on slot machines, and so on. Then Prabhupada, interestingly, includes mental speculation. He doesn't always say it, but he does say it. Please therefore chant regularly 16 rounds of beads daily. Always be engaged in Krishna work in a humble state of mind. Follow the regulative principles of no eating of meat, fish, or eggs, no intoxicants, no illicit sex life, and no gambling or mental speculation. And study our literatures and be strictly trained up in Krishna consciousness with the help of and guidance of Jayadvaita Prabhu. This is February 2nd, 1970. And I've got more letters. I don't have to multiply them. The devotee asks, this rule, no gambling, does this include speculation? Prabhupada, yes. Devotee, various types. Prabhupada says speculation is gambling. July 16th, 1968. I haven't seen much about what this mental speculation is. I've never seen actually Prabhupada elaborate on it. From what I understand from thinking about it and from talking with devotees, it particularly pertains to speculating about the nature of the absolute truth. One shouldn't speculate about such matters. One should hear from authorities. I really haven't seen more about mental speculation. Okay. Well, there's some more intoxicant questions that have come up. But let's see where I am here. Yeah, playing the lottery is definitely gambling. As far as intoxicants, if you like a particular food, is that an intoxicant? Not really. It's not like you're a Rasgula addict. We may say that, but it doesn't break the four regulative principles. It may mean that your tongue is not as well controlled as it might be, but a craving for a particular kind of food. It doesn't violate the four rules. It may just not show a high degree of sense control. Raising funds by means of lotto, yes, that's simply gambling. Oh, and yes, and Sankarshan says, I've been told not to eat the bananas of the mind. Yes, the bananas of the mind are not prasadam. Okay, so mental speculation, as far as I can understand, pertains to speculating about the nature of the supreme truth. If somebody has more information on this, great, but I don't. Then the other thing that's included under gambling, and Prabhupada has spoken about this also, is idle sports. He wrote to Pope Paul VI in 3rd August 1968, we are creating men of character, and we are training our disciples to become lovers of God or Krishna. From the very beginning, they are trained to refrain from the following four principles of degradation. 1, sex life outside of marriage. 2, meat eating or eating of any animal food. 3, all forms of intoxication. 4, gambling and idle sports. So that idle sports is included within gambling, interestingly. So your video games, your football games. I've seen a devotee sitting at the front desk of a temple, welcoming people to Sunday feast, and watching like a football game on his laptop. Really, these things are idle sports, and I've heard devotees who playing various sports. They're really not to be done. Let's see. And no cinema also. The formalities are as follows. You should take a vow not to have any illicit sex life. That means sex life should be accepted only by married couples. You should not take anything beyond the group of grains, fruits, vegetables, flowers, milk, and milk products, and that also only after offering to Lord Krishna. You should not accept any kind of intoxication, including drinking coffee, tea, or smoking cigarettes, chewing pan, etc. Finally, you should not take part in any gambling, including so-called sports, cinema, theater, or any such entertainment. Then you will have to be first initiated for chanting the Hare Krishna mantra under regulative principles, avoiding 10 kinds of offenses, and following the above regulative principles. Then, or before the completion of 1 year, you will be finally initiated. 8 July 1969 to Mr. Nair. So Rabindra Swarup Prabhu has quipped that this is the one out of the four rules that everybody thinks they're following, no gambling, and so many people are not, because it's broader than just not betting on the horses. It includes not wasting time on sports, gambling, and cinemas, and so on. And again, and no gambling, this is an initiation, no gambling or unnecessary sporting. People are wasting time. So many sportings they have invented, sporting balls, this ball, that ball, you see? Human life is very short. We do not know when we shall die. Before that, we must prepare ourselves for the next life. Next life means directly going back to Krishna, highest perfection. Initiation lecture, December 19th, 1968. So these things are clear. Baseball, football, golf, this, that, all idle sports. Movies, yes, it's breaking the regulative principles, Prabhupada's saying. Watching a drug, yeah, entertainment. So, yeah, devotees who are aspiring patient, that's maybe a different story, but how many devotees have the occupation of working in drama? And even then, do you need it? But okay, if it's their job, sure, that's a different story. But basically, Prabhupada's saying, get serious. Don't be wasting time with sports, with cinemas, with this, with that. Don't waste time. Now, there's quite a number of other questions that have come up, so let's look at them. Here, there were devotees who suggested putting money fundraised for temple into the markets. Would that be considered lottery or gambling? I would recommend to you, especially Grahastas, the excellent seminar given by Vamsidhari Gopal Prabhu, who I think is on this call, concerning investments. Actually concerning devotee finances, personal finances for devotees, but he has a section on investments. And certainly to be involved in high risk, speculative, high risk, high profit sort of things can be seen as gambling. Now if it's again your profession, you're an investment broker or something, that's a different story. But the people who are, putting money in pyramid schemes, for example, I know that in one devotee community, the whole community got, or many devotees in the community got sucked into a pyramid scheme and lost considerable money, and a lot of acrimony was generated. So these sort of get rich quick things are a gamble. I know of a devotee who collected in one country, they collected money for a new temple, and the temple president lost it all on some flimsy business venture. So there's everything's a gamble. You walk outside you walk on the street and then it's a gamble. Or you're going to get hit by a car. Everything has risk, but this sort of but we know the difference between just an ordinary, sober, reasonable risk and taking gambles. Coming back to Vamsidhari Prabhu's seminar, what he's recommended, and I appreciate it, is that there are that a sober way to invest in the stock market, or putting it this way, first of all, that equities or stocks can give you reasonable interest, whereas banks don't. You get like point nothing from a bank, and you get, say, 8% from normal investments. So as a sort of planned, sober, planned and sober investment strategy, to be investing in stocks is not a risky sort of a business. There is risk. You can always lose money, and you're always warned about that in stocks. But his recommendation is to take his seminar and see, but it's basically a sort of safe way that you just put your money in a fund where it's managed in such a way that they're not looking for big returns. They're just following the, a sort of, what they call an index of the market. And you just put your money there and don't think about it. Don't think about whether the market's going up or going down, or whether you want to, some stock is really trending or not trending. You put it away and you don't think about it. And your mind is not agitated with, looking on the newspaper the next day to see whether your stocks are going up or going down, or logging on to see what's going up and going down. Then your gambling is not it's just a reasonable investment, like starting a business. That's a gamble too, but it should be done soberly and intelligently. And then we're not in this sort of wild gambling territory. How to see the gurus whose disciples are not having such strict following of these principles? Well, Prabhupada was among them, and it is among them. What can we do? We know that the guru takes some risk, but it's more how should the disciples think? I've promised my guru that I'm not going to do this. I should not do it. Yes, it doesn't look good for the spiritual master either that his disciples are not following. But again, how to see the gurus? They're merciful. They're trying to give people an opportunity, and then if the disciple breaks his promises, what can be done? Sharanagati says, my husband, a newbie, has made the observation that the rule of no gambling seems much less urgent than the other three. Why is no gambling so important? Gambling agitates the mind. First of all, it can be totally addictive. It can be, you can lose everything. Yudhisthira Maharaj losing the kingdom and so on. So that's part of it, that it can put your life in a crazy space. There's even for that reason, there's a gambling helpline, Problem Gamblers Helpline, 1-800-522-4700. If you know someone who needs it. And there are people, they're in debt, they're in poverty, they have families, and they're gambling away. They're going someplace and betting and gambling. So it becomes a crazy addiction. But even for those of us who are not into that sort of a problem, gambling agitates the mind. To be Krishna conscious, we want to have sober, calm, thoughtful minds. And when you're investing money in bets and lotto and the outcome of sporting events and so on, or high risk, lose all, take all sort of situations, the mind can't be peaceful because you're always thinking, what about my money? What about, is it going to win? 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 Oh no, it lost. Oh, great, I won. The mind won't be peaceful. And to be Krishna conscious, what do we want to achieve? We want to achieve the highest perfection of human life. To have our minds, our pure minds, engaged in thought of the lotus feet of Krishna. How are we going to do that when our minds are busy thinking about, am I going to win? Am I going to win? Am I going to win? I hope that clarifies the matter. I've heard that taking unnecessary risks is a subtle form of gambling, Kadsi Vrata says. Please explain the bananas of the mind comment also. Well, yes, unnecessary risks. Yeah, devotees should have a simple, honest occupation. Now, we may take some risk for preaching, especially. I was just thinking about Tribhuvanath Prabhu. We were talking about him the other day, who went to Arab countries and Islamic countries and risked his life basically for the service of Krishna. Devotees in the former Soviet Union who were publishing Srimad Bhagavatam at considerable risk. So taking a risk is not always bad, but especially these risks for personal profit, or taking or gambling with, even for the sake of the society, illegal things. I know a devotee who was involved in embezzlement for the sake of Krishna. He was selfless, but it was unnecessary and it caused him so much trouble. So devotee, basically, what is that? Satovrite. Sangatyagat Satovrite. A devotee, that's sometimes translated, should have an honest occupation. Simple, honest occupation. so your mind can be peaceful, so that you can think of Krishna and not be involved in high risk, high risk, high risk. Bananas of the mind, as far as I understand, and the devotee who brought it up can straighten me out if I'm not, and you can just unmute yourself, by the way, if you want to. I think it just means, all the crazy stuff the mind comes up with. The mind says, here, have a banana, what is that banana? It's some stupid, crazy idea. Latina says, wait, there are devotees who still watch movies. That's breaking a regulative principle. And watching a drama is. There are devotees who are aspiring actors and so on. Is the Broadway performers. Is that gambling? So, yeah, and how many of us are there who could say, well, I've never watched a movie since I was initiated and so on. And these things attract our minds. And especially in the internet age, it's so easy to just log on and watch this or watch that. But Prabhupada is instructing us, no cinema, no this and that. Aspiring actors, Broadway performers, we talked about that. But yes, we shouldn't be watching the movies. I know I was in one place, so there was a guru, he was a big high profile, one of the 11 gurus, and sort of gathered his chief leaders together to watch a film one night. I was wondering, what is, why? And, there was some sort of, arguably, some sort of connection with something, but really it was just a film. If it's your service, I think if Yadubara watches a movie, there's nothing to criticize there. He's professional. But entertainment, basically. Why should we entertain ourselves with drama, fiction, all of that sort of stuff? Prabhupada is instructing us not to do that. Tulsi Priya, would idle sports include occasionally engaging in recreation for combined exercise and socializing, such as volleyball games at a picnic, or should all of our social exercise be exclusively from energetic kirtans? And what about children engaging in sports? If you develop a liking for sports in childhood, hard to give it up in adulthood, but children need to play, right? Okay, so we're just about running out of time here. And maybe we'll have to come back even in another lifetime or next time to talk about gambling more. In fact, I think we will, because we're at 7:59 and Sheetal Dasi's on the Tobacco channel in a minute. So please hold your comments, copy and paste them and save them for me. And next time, because there is so much about this one principle that everyone thinks they're following, so we'll come to that in the next session. Are there any Zoom experts who know whether I can save all these comments myself all in one go? It looks like there's not.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Wait. If it's a comment, if it's anything about anything other than can I save all these comments, we're over time.
Oh, no, it's about that, actually. As a host, or whoever is recording, you should be able to get the dialogue of the chat. So whoever is recording it or the Zoom channel, which I believe is you, when it saves, you'll get the audio, the video, and dialogue.
And how do I get it? I am the host. How do I get the chat?
So recording this, I believe when you exit a Zoom, your computer should convert this whole Zoom meeting. And when
right.
Yes, you get your audio, your the Zoom, the video, as well as
chat.
That's correct.
Right. Tulsi Priya, can I make you the host and you can handle that? Would that be all right? Oh, Tulsi Priya? Yeah, okay. So let me make you the host before I leave. Let's see.
I believe Tulsi Priya is the co-host already, and she's recording, so she should actually have all of that.
Now she's the host, so she can really, she has whatever superpowers there are, she has. And we're a minute over time, so we're not terrible because only the introductions will be going on. But again, I am rushing to get us out. Yeah, meeting saved, chat, text, download. Wow, okay. Already done by Prabeen. Thank you very much. And go there, go there. Great, thank you very much for that, Prabeen. Okay, thank you all. And we will come back next Thursday and continue this discussion about gambling or any other gambling, intoxication, or meat eating. Those are the ones that are covered so far, and then we'll get on to other things. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All
Hare
glories.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Thank you, Kamani.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Apurva. Thank Hare Krishna. Hare Bol, everyone. Thank you all.
Good.